Tell a joke.
I think I'm getting a divorce. What tipped me off was that I'm living in an apartment on my own. Yeah. And my wife and kids don't live there. That was probably the biggest clue. When I first met John Bishop and he told me this story of how he was going through a divorce and became a stand-up, and that he walked into a bar, didn't want to pay the cover. They had a cover that night because they had an open mic, and so he wrote his name down just thinking, they're never going to call me and I'll be able to go and have a quick beer and get out. And that he sort of inadvertently set into motion a chain of events that changed his life, not just professionally, but as a person. That really got me. The idea that he went up, here's a guy who's going through a huge change in his life, his marriage is falling apart, and then he gets on stage, of all places, a place he'd never been, to do stand-up. And that in doing that, he starts speaking his truth and starts saying things that he had never said before. I love that. And that he felt changed by it. I love that. And that it ended up becoming something that he sought out. I love that. I love the idea of that. And that just really got me. No matter where he went on that trajectory, the idea that he was able to, that became, doing that thing became a real sort of agent of change. There were a couple things that happened in the movie that had we written them, people would have thought, well, that's just too big of a leap. One, that he just happened to walk into a bar and had never done stand-up and had no connection to it, and put his name down and got called up and went up and spoke. Completely true. The other being that months into doing this, after having told nobody in his life, and people were responding saying like, oh, you seem like you're a lot better, that he agrees to do. He gets kind of okay enough that he gets invited to be part of a Saturday night lineup at a club, and to be kind of on the bill, if you will. And he went on a Saturday night. He's up there. Unbeknownst to him, his wife, who's got a totally new group of friends and they're separated on their way to divorce, she goes to a comedy club with her new friends, and she's in there. But she hears them say, please welcome John Bishop. And she's like, what? And then he tells a joke, and he can hear her laugh, and he goes, what? And they have that connection. Those two things are completely true. Had we written those and made those up, it would just seem almost too far-fetched. What was also cool was that when we were first writing this, and John told us this story about that part of the story, and he told us that afterwards he connects with his wife. He sees her at the bar. She waits for him, and he goes up to her, and he doesn't know how she's going to take it. And she looks at him and she says, that guy on stage, that was the man I married. And that really stuck with us. And we wanted to, even if we had written that scene just like that, it would have seemed too on the nose, and it would have seemed too much like a movie moment, But we did want to try to somehow encapsulate that idea through emotion, that she sees something and that she's reconnected to him. First of all, we wanted to feel like a really genuine portrayal of all those things, of relationship, marriage, kids, parents, all those things. And we wanted to feel genuine, authentic. We wanted these people to feel like people that we know. We wanted, for me, it was incumbent upon me that Alex feels like somebody that we all know, that he's us, that he's our friend, our brother, our next door neighbor, that he's one of it, that they live in this world. And that, for me, as an actor, was something that was really important. I played a lot of heightened characters in my life, and this was a character that I wanted to really sort of come at from a really genuine perspective. But story-wise, given, even notwithstanding the sort of the incredible nature of how it all starts and kind of kicks off, we still wanted the sort of the crux of it, the very heart of it, to feel very relatable, and that there is, that this is just this is love that is evaporated, which I think can happen left unattended. This is what can happen when we stop communicating with each other, something that we could all relate to. And then ultimately, we wanted people to be left with a sense of hope, that when there is something that is really valuable and really worth fighting for, when there is a real connection between people, that there is a way, if you can find a way to communicate, there is a way back. When I was doing stand-up in prep for this, and I would go up and I would do these sets, Alex's sets, at the Comedy Cellar, I did have people come up to me afterwards when I was just in the street, we're milling around, talking to other comics and just whatever, and I did have some patrons come up to me and say, man, I hope it works out with you and your ex. It sounds really tough. And I'm like, oh, thanks, which was really gratifying. That people felt, connected to it, and that they felt like that it was an honest portrayal, and that I was able to kind of convey that in a way that was authentic in person. That felt really good. It is satisfying because it feels like something that we've created something that people can connect to. And also the part about the kids, all the stuff with the kids, which is really vital. I think that so often we've seen those stories where a divorce or a separation or a breakup is portrayed in a way that's really damaging. And we wanted the damage to be really more about the relationship within Alex and Tess. But we wanted to see these two people who, I think it's actually more prevalent, who the people are really concerned with making sure the kids are okay, really tending to that, making sure that they're the priority. Within the stand-up, I knew that we were doing something different. And I would remind myself, and Bradley and I would talk about it, we're doing something different. So when I'm on there, I sort of resisting the urge to win the audience over. By resorting to some other stuff, as from years as a performer, not as stand-up, but as a performer, to really commit myself to what that experience was for Alex Novak in that moment, to try to really discover what that is, and to kind of be on that ride of discovery with him. A lot of people have asked me, what's it like to work with Bradley? Because you guys a lot of our friends have asked me, what's it like for you guys to work together? And we've had a lot of people say, friends of ours, say are you and Bradley good? And I'm like, yeah, we're good. We're even better than ever. The truth, it was really, when he called me and said he wanted to do it, it was, I was really excited by the prospect. I don't think I appreciated really what it takes to make something in a way that is sort of above the standard that you're used to. Even for him, I think that he's constantly pushing himself to do it even better at all times. And he's crazy collaborative, which is interesting because he is, you think about these, or you hear about filmmakers who have a real vision. You hear that a lot, or this guy has a real vision. He does, and at the same time, he leaves so much room for other people to bring ideas. And watching him consider an idea in real time and go, oh, that's great, that he's willing to entertain that and put that in as part and sort of fold that into what he's doing. When you have somebody who's collaborative in that way, as an artist, if you will, and by the way, I've now lost all my cynicism around all these words, and I don't know why, and I'm sure I'll get crushed for it. As an artist, it's really satisfying to have somebody kind of fold you in that way. So you end up getting really even more excited about the thing you're working on, and it makes you try to think about different ways of improving what you're doing and really dedicate yourself And he leads by example. I mean, he's the first guy there on set. Like he's not one of the. He's not rolling in. He's not sitting at a video village. Also, he's operating on this particular film, so he's in the trenches with you, a foot away from you the whole time. You can have moments where you'll say things to each other that I think that other people are like, "Wow, you guys are talking to each other in this way in front of other people." But it's okay because we're trying to get to the thing. We want to make the scene better. We both want to make the scene better. Are you gonna? You shouldn't. Don't do that. Put the thing down. Don't grab the thing like that. Move your thing. Come over here. I don't think you should say that like in this way. All in service of making the thing. We both understood. We talked really a lot about this, and we would say this to each other a lot. The movie is the star. The movie is the star, and we're just there to kind of service it. Laura is such an available, open, wonderful, and amazing person before an artist. And I guess I actually don't believe you can separate those two things. I think that those things are kind of it all. We are, all these things at once. I'm not this in one part of my life and then this. All of it is connected. It's all in the one big sort of bucket, if you will, of who we are. And we knew each other a little bit, but just kind of socially. We've had dinner before with friends and always laughed and. But she and Bradley were very close. And then so when she came on, it was super exciting. And then we started talking about the film, and she started talking about Tess and who she saw Tess as being. And then Bradley was like, that's, everybody was sort of building on these ideas, and she brought so much to it. We talked about and got into some very intimate stuff with each other. And that was really vital to sort of understand and not create a history, but to really pull back and look at each other's history, emotional history, if you will. And that allowed us, that kind of laid a foundation of understanding a little bit more who we were as people, so that when we start to really try to inhabit these characters, Alex and Tess, that we have a sort of a foundation that we've built and a way of talking to each other that feels really genuine, as so we don't have to just pretend that these people have a history, but that we can actually sort of feel that history. We know so much about each other's lives too, and we're both in our mid-50s, so we've had a lot of experience and a lot of life. And even though, again, this is not autobiographical, we still do have. There are touch points and things that we share that we can kind of access and talk about, and stuff that's in the script and go, I recognize that, or I would say, we wrote that because this, yes, and she would say, yes, and I understand that, and this is how that made me feel, my own experience, and then having that, so that when we're doing the scenes, it's very real for us as Alex and Tess.